Good afternoon, we are from Group 2. Today we present about an analysis on the impact that influences the students' score in Portuguese language course. These are our group members.
In this globalization era, fluent in only one single language is never enough for us to survive in this fast-changing world. So learning a second language or a new language is an advantage for us to cope with this fast-changing society. In this study, a dataset is given to analyze the student of Portuguese language course with several variables that might impact on the score. So in this study, there are two objectives. The first one is to identify the respondent background, and the second is to analyze the relationship and the impact of the factors on the Portuguese language course grade. The data collection for this study used was qualitative data and also the quantitative data. So the quantitative data used in this study is secondary data. For quantitative data, mean score and standard deviation was used to analyze the result for this study. So here you can see the formulas for mean score and also the standard deviation. In terms of scale of measurement, the quantitative data was measured by using the ordinal, ratio, and interval scale, whereas for the qualitative data, it was measured by using the nominal scale. So here you can see the scale of measurement for all the variables in this study. The format for the tables was numbered according by the chapter. For example, the first table in chapter 1 was numbered as table 1.1 and so on. The title of the table was placed at the center of the top of the table, and the title of the table was capitalized each word and italicized. The format for figures is almost the same as the format for the table. The figures was numbered according by the chapters, and the title of the table was placed left aligned at the center of the bottom of the figure, and the title of the figure was capitalized each word and italicized also. The statistical tool used in this study is Microsoft Excel. The quantitative results were obtained from the formulas and the functions available in the Microsoft Excel to show the visualized data through their graphs and charts.
Now let us start with the respondent analysis. From the pie chart, we can see that female students recorded the highest number, which is 79 students, while male students have only 71 students. From the bar chart, we can see that there are 75 students who are 15 years old taking the Portuguese language course. From the pie chart, the major occupation among the students' mothers is working in other industry with a percentage of 37% and followed by service sector 28%. From the second pie chart, we can see that most of the fathers are from other industry with a percentage of 55%. 24% of them are working in service industry. From the bar chart, most of the students study the Portuguese language for 2 to 5 hours weekly, which shows the highest amount of 71 students. From the horizontal bar chart, there are 50 students who do not absent the Portuguese language course, which recorded the highest amount in the course.
Let us move to the second analysis part. The first factor is the gender of the student. According to the data, the male student have the higher mean score of 12.4507. On the other hand, the female student in G1 have the highest standard deviation with a score of 2.4587, which means that the result of the female student are no constant. However, the female student who have standard deviation of 1.7096 in G2 are more centralized. Next, the second factor is student age. Based on the table, the highest mean score are from age of 16 with a score of 12.5806 in G3. On the other hand, the students who are 18 years old also get a higher standard deviation, which is 5.5603 in G1, which the result is not centralized. There is no standard deviation for 19 years old student because there is only one student, and the student is not calculated in the data because she is the outlier. Therefore, there is no variation of data from the means of the mean score. Based on the analysis table of occupation of student mother, it shows that the higher mean score that get by the student is 13.5 in G3, where their mother works as a teacher. Besides, the highest standard deviation that get by the student is 3.5790 in G1, where their mother is work at home. This shows that the variation among the mother work at home is higher compared to other occupation. On the table of the occupation of student father, we can conclude that the student where their father work at home and work as a teacher get the highest mean score, which is 13.6 in G3. On the other hand, the highest standard deviation is 4.0673 in G1, where their father work as a teacher. The father work as a teacher in G1 have the more variation compared to others. After that, we can see that the mean score of the study time for the Portuguese course of the student from the table above. The highest mean score that get by the student is 12.7619 in G2. They study 5 to 10 hours a week. On the other hand, we can see that the highest standard deviation is 2.4754 in G1, where the student is study 2 to 5 hours a week. The next factor is the student absent day. According to the data, we know that the highest mean score that get by the student are 13, where the students are only absent one time in the class. Besides, the highest standard deviation is 3.8987 in G3, where get by the student who absent 10 times. The lowest standard deviation is 0. There's only one student who absent for one time, so there's no standard deviation because she is the outlier and we cannot take the result as a reference. Therefore, there's no variation of data from the mean of the mean score.
On this table and figure, it shows that the student with less than 15 minutes home to school travel time have higher mean score compared to other students in G1, G2 and G3. Students who take more than 1 hour to school have the lowest mean score in G1 and G2. On the other hand, the standard deviation for the student with 15 to 30 minutes home to school travel time in G1 is the highest, and it means that their scores are fluctuated and very volatile in G1. The lowest standard deviation over 3 periods is 1.5166 in G2 by the student who take more than 1 hour to school. Next, students who participate in extracurricular activity have the highest mean score in the 3 period compared to other students who are not. However, students who participate in extracurricular activities have the highest standard deviation in G2 and G3. It means that their grades are not centralized compared to the students who do not participate in the extracurricular activities. By looking at this table and figure, students who have internet access at home have the highest mean score in the 3 period and the lowest standard deviation in G1 and G2. And it means that their scores are centralized in the first and second period. Furthermore, the mean score and standard deviation for the students who do not have a romantic relationship is the highest in 3 period, and it means that their scores are volatile and not centralized over 3 period. Besides, the students with very poor health have the highest mean score in the second, while the students with poor health have the highest mean score in the first and final period, and their standard deviation is the highest in second and final period. On the other hand, the standard deviation for the students who have excellent health status is the lowest in the first and second period. It means that their scores are not volatile and stable over first and second period.
In conclusion, we can conclude that every factor provided in this dataset are having an impact towards the Portuguese language course grade. So in overall, we can say that the grades are varied based on the factors.